After UFC 311, Islam Makhachev may be the greatest lightweight fighter in UFC history. It took him less than a round to submit the late replacement opponent Renato Moicano for the record-breaking 4th consecutive title defense. And how does it feel?
I'm really happy. Always happy when I finish some fight in first round, no damage, no cuts. Because after the last fight, the cuts, everything like bothered me 1 month, you know. But now I feel good, you know. Nothing bothered me, nothing pain.
Makhachev was hoping to break the lightweight defense record in a rematch with Arman Tsarukyan, who was coming into the bout with 9 wins from his previous 10 bouts. Before then, he dropped a decision to Makhachev, so this was his shot at revenge and the belt.
I'm so excited. I just don't want to talk a lot. I just want to get them my belt and go home. Thank you, everybody.
Of course, he improved. He have more than 10 fights in the UFC right now. And the number one thing what he improved is experience. Now he have more experience in the UFC, in the hard fight. And I'm also grew up, take the belt. I have many hard fights. That's why I have more experience.
It seemed all set to go. But on the morning of the weigh-in, Tsarukyan withdrew from the bout with a back injury. How and when it happened is unclear, but after the bout, the champ explained what this all meant to him.
Nothing. For me, it's nothing, man. I not prepare myself just for Arman or someone, you know. I prepare myself for fight. And for me, it's no matter. I always tell you guys, and if this happened like before 1 hour, I will say yes, because I training last 3 months for the fight, not just for one opponent. For the fight, no matter who is gonna be. That's why, for me, it's okay.
This left the UFC needing to find a replacement on the day of the weigh-ins. The number 10 ranked lightweight Renato Moicano, who was on a 4-fight win streak and set to face Beneil Dariush on the undercard, was offered a shot at the title, and he was hungry.
What is it like to get the call on 1 day's notice?
I don't give a f***.
Getting to face Makhachev on late notice for the belt was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Moicano. For the champ, it meant nothing.
Does anything change with a difference of opponent?
No, same. Smash my opponent, that's it. No matter who is gonna be in front of me, let's go. I cannot afford to f***ing lose, and that's true. Doesn't matter if it's the champion or not, tomorrow I'm winning.
For a brief moment, it seemed to matter a lot when Moicano scored an early knockdown. Makhachev scrambled back to his feet and quickly got Moicano off his with an easy takedown. And it wasn't long before Makhachev had scored his second Bravo choke finish in 2 fights. I'm very sad. I spent my whole life training for this moment, and I tapped in the first round. Islam was much better than I today, Moicano said after his loss. I'm not done. I don't know if I ever will get a chance like that again, but I will try my best to do it. Now with 4 consecutive defenses of the lightweight title, the Russian has broken the previous record held by BJ Penn, Benson Henderson, and his friend and trainer, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Plus, Makhachev's 15-fight UFC winning streak is just 1 shy of Anderson Silva's all-time record of 16 straight victories with the promotion. It's hard not to call him the lightweight GOAT. Even the UFC CEO Dana White now agrees, and he even went one further. 100%. There's no doubt about it, White said. He's the pound-for-pound best in the world, and he's definitely the best to ever do it in that division. With wins over 3 of the top 5 contenders, it's hard to imagine who's going to stop him. Tsarukyan thought it was going to be him, but he's now got some waiting to do. Uncle Dana was clearly not happy with how his withdrawal went down, and as a result, he had bad news for the number 1 contender. He's going back to the drawing board, White told reporters. He's not getting the title shot. That means he's going to have to fight his way back to the title. The former champ, Charles Oliveira, who Makhachev beat for the belt back in 2022, is likely to be next in line for a title shot. Du Bronx was at cage side for the bout, and he had a message for his old foe.
Foi uma grande luta. Ele é o campeão, tinha que fazer isso mesmo. Mas eu sou o próximo, ele sabe disso. O campeão dos pesos leves chama Charles Oliveira. Eu tô pronto pra isso.
In the co-main event, the bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili showed exactly why they call him the Machine. Umar Nurmagomedov took the first 2 rounds, only to have the Georgian take over in the final 3 to retain the belt. The bout was widely seen as the bout to determine the best grappler in bantamweight history. It was Dvalishvili's limitless gas tank versus an unbeaten Nurmagomedov of the Nurmagomedov family. To begin with, neither man could fully implement their grappling game, and it was Umar who landed the bigger strikes. Unfortunately, it could have been that very thing that was his undoing. After the bout, Nurmagomedov claimed to have broken his hand in the first round, and to prove it, he revealed the extent of the damage on social media by some pretty gnarly pictures. That's the fight game though, and the fight wasn't over. By round 3, Merab's takedowns became increasingly easy as Umar began to tire, and he finished the bout with his 92nd takedown in the UFC to break Georges St-Pierre's 11-year-old record. Dvalishvili's 11-fight winning streak is the longest in UFC bantamweight history, and he's also set the division's record for total takedowns and strikes landed in UFC competition. His teammate, Aljamain Sterling, still holds the bantamweight defense record, but it stands at just 3 consecutive defenses. Merab has just 1, but he already holds dominant wins over the top 3 contenders, so you can expect more to come. UFC 311's Fight of the Night went to Dvalishvili and Nurmagomedov's 5-round war, and performance bonuses went to Yuri Prohaska and Jailton Almeida for their fiery TKOs. In other UFC news, the former women's bantamweight champion Holly Holm has been granted her release from the UFC, and she now wants to fight elsewhere in MMA and boxing. 9 years ago, Holm rocketed her way into the cultural zeitgeist when she pulled off one of the biggest upsets in MMA history, knocking out the undefeated Ronda Rousey with a head kick to claim the title. Before then, Holm was one of the most decorated women's boxers in history, with 16 title defenses across 3 divisions and 2 Women's Fighter of the Year awards. The preacher's daughter has even earned her place in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Man, it would be really cool to go and fight for a 4th weight division in boxing. So why not? Asked Holm. I think of both things pretty much down the middle. Maybe I lean a little more toward MMA first, but I don't know. I just want to see what opens. And speaking of ending combat careers, the former UFC middleweight champion Chris Weidman has called it a day, at least for now. Like Holm, Weidman shot to global fame with a huge upset win, when he knocked out the longtime middleweight champion Anderson Silva for the title. It's been a ride from being an undefeated world champion and being able to beat one of the greatest of all time in Anderson Silva, and then being able to defend my belt 3 times against some of the greatest legends of the sport, Weidman said. I'm just very grateful. The rumored March bout between the WBC and WBO junior middleweight champion Sebastian Fundora and the former longtime unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. looks to be no longer. Fundora, who won the titles when he defeated Tim Tszyu in a split decision upset in March of 2024, is now reportedly seeking a new opponent for his first defense. Most thought he would be defending against Spence, especially after Spence entered the ring for a face-off with Fundora immediately after Fundora won the belts. While the reason for the fight falling apart is not known, Spence took to social media to say, "I'll be back when I'm ready." So take from that what you will. To the lightweight kerfuffle between the champ Devin Haney and his arch-nemesis Ryan Garcia. The two have jointly asked a court to pause proceedings on Haney's lawsuit against Garcia due to a tentative settlement. In 2024, Haney failed to defend his title against Garcia, who dropped him 3 times on his way to a major upset decision victory. However, Garcia quickly tested positive for PEDs. The result was overturned. He was suspended for 1 year and fined upward of $1.2 million. Haney then filed a lawsuit of his own against Garcia, seeking damages for battery, fraud, and breach of contract. But with the two reportedly now close to signing on for a big money rematch, Haney looks set to forgive and forget, for the right amount of money. And in a not too dissimilar story, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn may finally get to duke it out. That comes via Turki Al-Sheikh, the chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority. The two Brits, whose fathers Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn were fierce rivals in the 1990s, were set to face off in 2022 before Conor Benn tested positive for the banned performance-enhancing fertility drug clomiphene. Benn has always claimed his innocence, and after 2 years, he was finally successful in having his suspension lifted. He immediately went after the fight, and his promoter Eddie Hearn was only too happy to get to work. Late night business is what Hearn posted on social media, alongside a photo of himself with Turki Al-Sheikh looking over Benn signing on the dotted line. So expect details of that fight to come in the following weeks.
Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.